tonight on Nova.
He was buried alive and he's howling, he's screaming.
In the heart of Central Asia, ancient bodies offer puzzling clues.
They say that they had red hair, bluish green eyes. It's a European type of person.
What became of their lost civilization?
Oh God, amazing.
Nova takes you where few outsiders have ever gone to unearth the secrets of the mysterious mummies of China.
Ancient mummies are discovered in a desert in western China. Their deep eyes, thin lips and blonde hair amaze Chinese archaeologists because they look European. The discovery of these Caucasian mummies defies history as we know it. Where did they come from? Why did they move into China? And what fate led them to vanish into the desert air? Scientists would journey to the edge of recorded history to pursue the desert mummies of China.
The mummies are rarely made available for outside scrutiny. But the Chinese archaeologist who found this woman lying exposed on the desert sands allows the team to see her.
This corpse was found on the surface, close to the surface of Tomb 2. According to Mr. He, it was partially dismembered and was a sacrificial victim for the main occupant of the tomb. He believes that this person was from another tribe and that it was sacrificed in respect for the main occupant of the tomb. Her eyes have been gouged out. She's lacking her arms beneath the elbow joints, and from the pelvis down below, there's nothing remaining.
Can we actually look at the pelvis? There were no leg bones at all.
No leg bones at all.
Yeah.
They've been jerked out or yanked out, according to Mr. He.
Oh, looking at the pelvis, she's quite young actually. If you look at the surface here, you see a ridge and furrow pattern, which is characteristic of a young person. Yeah. So there were no leg bones at all?
No.
It is a fascinating yet oddly intimate encounter with a woman who lived and suffered more than 3,000 years ago. More chilling yet is the fate of an infant child, found buried below the woman on the surface.
Charlotte, how old would you say this child is?
Well, I can just see the incisor teeth in the lower jaw. This would indicate a person about the age of 1 year, but could be as young as 8 months or as old as 16 months.
This little baby boy was found in a hole over the main occupant of the grave. His head was inserted head first, and his feet were sticking up. So, according to Mr. He, he was buried alive, and that he's howling, he's screaming. Also, Mr. He says that there are traces of mucus coming out of his nostrils and traces of tears. So, according to Mr. He, this child was sacrificed again for the priestess.
可以看看这个里面。
Oh, I can see that.
Little hand clenched.
Oh, beautiful.
The visitor's attention is drawn to the fabric wrapping the tiny body. It was not made by the Chinese, who hadn't yet acquired the craft of weaving wool with such sophistication. Where did the little boy come from?
And very fair-haired too.
Almost reddish.
If you actually look at the profile, the nose is quite large and long.
Long nose.
Yeah, although at this age we wouldn't really want to say much about ethnic affiliation.
There is no uncertainty about the ethnic origins of the body buried in the main chamber below the other two. This perfectly preserved mummy was a woman of about 40.
从人种来讲，它是属于欧罗巴人种。
It's a European type of person.
是欧罗巴人种，所以她的身比较高。
So she's quite tall. She's 1.72 meters.
这个鼻骨也很高。
Her nose is very high.
These mummies were not embalmed. Their amazing preservation is due to the dryness and salinity of the desert soil.
This is the mistress or the lady of the main occupant of the tomb.
我估计啊，就是在部落打时候，那个青年妇女和小孩是被他的人抓住以后为他殉葬的。
He thinks that there was a war and that these other sacrificed victims were captured in the war, and then out of respect for her, they were buried with her. From this cemetery, there have been 17 desiccated corpses found, all in quite good state of preservation. But the most beautiful one is this in our museum.
第一次看到她，当我把她从墓葬里抱出来的时候，我就发现她是世界上最漂亮的一个女人。
When I brought her out of the grave and held her in my arms, I realized that she was the most beautiful woman on earth.
我抱了一个很漂亮的女人。
I was startled. I was holding the most beautiful woman on earth.
就是如果我就说她是现在活着的话，或者我自己到3000年以前的话，我一定娶她。
If she were alive today, or if I were alive 3,000 years ago, I would certainly make her my wife.
But how could a Chinese man like Mr. He have met a blonde woman 3,000 years ago? According to many scholars and predominant Chinese belief, China's civilization was essentially evolving in isolation from the West. Though it concerns a distant past, the question resonates in the present. Most of the people who dwell in China's westernmost regions don't look especially Chinese. Many of these people, known as Uyghurs, don't think of themselves as Chinese either.
I believe that the legacy of the earliest inhabitants of the Tarim Basin survive in the current modern populations. We can sometimes see individuals with blonde hair, with light eyes, a very fair skin. And where did they come from? I think these are the vestiges of the ancient peoples. They now believe that they're Uyghurs or Tajiks or some other group, but in my estimation, these are just carrying on the old Tokharian influence. In this vaulted ceiling above us, we have a lot of Buddhas with kneeling figures beside them, and the kneeling figures look like they're Tokharians. So he's a local person, Tokharian, but wearing elements of costume.
In a small passage at the back of the cave, Victor hits pay dirt.
We see the red beard and red hair parted in the middle. It's a distinctive style of the Tokharians. He's wearing a coat with wide lapels on both sides and then folded over. It's a shame that these figures have all been defaced by people of other faiths at some time in the past. But it's very easy to see what they looked like, and we can tell who they were.
The Tokharian figures are strikingly similar to the mummies that lived in these parts 1,000 years earlier. Victor's quest has come full circle.
The wide lapel folded back. He's got the red beard, red hair parted in the middle. This donor has blonde hair and a long nose and an Indian caste mark, which we call a tika. Mm-hmm. So he's a local person, a Tokharian. By about the 10th century, the Tokharians had almost disappeared from the stage of history.
the Chinese government in the last few years have released these pictures. There's hundreds of pyramids in China. And the Chinese government actually got the farmers to farm on top of the pyramids so that they wouldn't be so apparent by satellite. And the reason why, so here's the poor farmer that got the job. The reason why they were doing that is because they didn't want the Western world to know about these pyramids. Why? Because the legends that comes with these pyramids is that the sun gods built them, and that the sun gods were blue-eyed, blonde-haired people. As far as the Chinese government looked at this, blonde-haired, blue-eyed people had to be Europeans. And the last thing they wanted was European people being responsible for some of the most ancient knowledge of the Chinese tradition. So they didn't want those pyramids to be known by the West. They did find the mummies of these blonde-haired, blue-eyed people in the high desert of China. Over 500 mummies were found. All very tall, absolutely not Asian people.
آیا میدونستین که در نقطه دور افتاده در چین مردمانی هستن که به زبان فارسی صحبت میکنن؟ حسین خندان، فیلمساز ایرانی ساکن چین، به دنبال یافتن این پارسی زبانان به منطقه کوچکی در میان مرز چین و افغانستان رفت و مستندی رو در این زمینه تهیه کرد. او چندی پیش برای نمایش فیلمش به لس آنجلس اومد و این فرصت مناسبی بود تا همکارم آرش گفتگویی رو با حسین خندان ترتیب بده. در گزارش بعدی با این فیلم مستند بیشتر آشنا میشیم.
بهانه یافتن پارسی زبانان در نقطه دورافتاده‌ای از کشور چین در مرز بین چین و افغانستان، حسین خندان کارگردان ایرانی را برای ساختن فیلم مستندی با نام حریر کلام به آن منطقه کشاند. حسین خندان از طریق یک برنامه رادیویی که درباره کارهای رضا دقتی، عکاس مشهور و بین‌المللی ایرانی صحبت می‌کرد، با این روستا که 14 سال پیش توسط او عکاسی شده بود آشنا شد.
اگر قراره که شکوفایی یک فرهنگی رو ببینی و مشابهتاش رو، قطعا مناسبتی مثل عید نوروز بهتره، به دلیل اینکه در ایران هم همه گروه‌های ملی و قومی و حتی مذهبی در یک چیز اتفاق نظر دارن و اون نوروزه. بر این مبنا من تصمیم گرفتم به اون منطقه برم، به امید اینکه این جامعه کوچک فارسی زبان رو در دل کوههای پامیر از نزدیک ببینم.
هر دل سی هوا